Have you ever caught yourself sneaking a drink when no one's watching? Or maybe scrolling mindlessly through social media for hours, even though you swore you'd stop these things, right? Maybe you tried to quit many, many times, only to find yourself falling back into these old patterns, feeling trapped and ashamed. These aren't just bad habits, they're signs of addiction, a powerful force that can feel impossible to overcome. And if you've witnessed similar struggles maybe in your family bloodline, it can feel like you are just destined to repeat these same patterns, right? Maybe you grew up with a parent who struggled with alcohol addiction and they were constantly drinking, and you saw maybe how that or gambling tore your family up, right? Maybe you inherited a genetic predisposition to addiction. It's quite common. Making you like more vulnerable, to its grasp. And you swore you would never be like that. But these experiences can leave deep scars that create a sense of shame and guilt and hopelessness. You might feel like you're just not strong enough to break free, right? Or that maybe somehow you're flawed or just broken. But no, the truth is, addiction isn't a character flaw, okay? It's not a sign of weakness, and it's definitely not a sign of a lack of willpower. It's a very complex issue that has roots that tie deep into our family tree. And I'm talking way back through the bloodline usually. Okay, so let's take a second to picture two very different paths that you could go on, right? In the first path, you continue to struggle with addiction. You feel trapped, ashamed, powerless. Your relationships suffer. Your health definitely deteriorates. And you watch your dreams just fade off into the distance. You watch as the same patterns repeat themselves, even in your own children, perpetrating the cycle of dysfunction over and over. But in the other life, the other path, you have broken free from the grips of addiction. You've healed your wounds. You have built your life back up. You've created a new and healthy story for yourself and your future generations. You feel empowered, joyful, and free to pursue your passions. You're actually a role model for your children. You show them that anything's possible, and overcoming adversity and creating a life of purpose is possible. And the truth is, you have the power to choose which one of these realities that you want to choose, right? You have free will. You're not destined to repeat these same patterns over and over. I'm going to go ahead and tell you straight up, breaking the cycle of addiction is not an easy feat, right? It requires courage, commitment, and a willingness to face these demons head on. But it ain't impossible. And you don't have to do it all by yourself. Here are 3 proven strategies that can help you break free from the grips of addiction and rewrite your family's history. Okay? So number 1, we want to learn our triggers and avoid them. So while this may seem obvious, one of the most important things to remember when learning how to avoid a relapse or to stop drinking altogether is to identify your triggers and avoid them, right? Early in recovery, it's very challenging, okay? Now, here's why. Saying you've gone from a life that revolved around using alcohol or a substance all day, every day. Everything was just alcohol or drugs, right? And now that you get sober, you're like, what do I do? Okay? So, and people often fall into the trap of going around these old people, places, and things. You think that you can. But this is real dangerous because while you think that your sobriety might be a shining hope for them, the truth is the exact opposite often happens. They will get you back into the old patterns much faster than you're going to sober them up. It's just, that's how it is. So the best thing to do is to avoid the people and places and everybody that you're around when you drank or use drugs. And learn what your other triggers are, right? So if like anger caused you to drink in the past, listening to country music caused you to drink in the past, don't do these things. Maybe at some point you can go back to listening to that type of music, but for now, avoid it. And that brings me to my next thing. Number 2, develop healthy coping skills, okay? When you're learning how to get sober and stay sober, the best thing you can do is learn new and healthy coping skills, because for so long, your coping skill was, drinking or getting high. So you have to learn brand new skills. Or maybe you have some old skills that you just kind of quit doing once you got, into your addiction. So let's say that you get super sad, something happens, and being sad is normal. It's a part of our life. Everybody gets sad, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. It might feel uncomfortable, but it'll pass, right? So instead of rushing to self-medicate, now you try practicing yoga. Yoga is one of my favorite things to do when I get into my feels like that, okay? Not only are you exercising, right, but you're practicing breath work when you do yoga. Your mind settles down too, okay? So before you know it, it's like 20 minutes later and you don't feel sad and you're not craving a drink. Some other healthy benefits, coping skills that I can think of that would help you would be meditating. Let's see, breathing exercises, EFT tapping, taking a hot bath with Epsom salts, borax, things like that. Even, throw in some essential oils, reading a good book, watching a movie or a TV show that you really like that's funny. Maybe not watching Intervention, because that could be a trigger, but, something else that's just light, like Friends or Parks and Recreation, something like that. Creating music, listening to music, dancing, exercising, riding a bike or riding skates, going out into nature, and bonus points if you go barefoot grounding. Practice mindfulness, learn a new skill, or maybe a new hobby. Practice gratitude, that's a good one. Keep yourself busy, always stay busy. Cleaning, cooking, maybe learning how to cook, planting a garden, helping others, and learn to be of service. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's, many things that you can find to do that's healthy, and choose the ones that resonate best with you, okay? And number 3, we want to practice self-care, okay? Everybody that knows me knows that I'm going to preach self-care for everything. And addiction is, no exception, right? Self-care is the tool that helped me when I stopped using and drinking, and it helped me to live the life of my dreams that I'm living right now. The world has programmed everybody to look outside themselves, right? From fairy tales to living the American dream, or, whatever country you're in, you've been sold the idea that you must have all these external things to be happy. You need a dream job, the big house, the antique car, trophy wife, the boat, and then you'll be happy. It's okay if you fall for this. Most people do. However, the true joy comes from within, okay? The best way to cultivate these feelings of joy is to start a self-care routine. This is even more important for people who have addictions. For so long, you haven't really taken very good care of yourself, right? And let alone showed yourself true self-love and self-care. When I first got sober, that was the very first thing, and that's why I love self-care. So let's look at some ways that you can practice self-care. You can start a morning exercise routine. You can start getting enough sleep. You can start eating better and taking care of your health that way. Your diet is so important. You can learn to eat fruits and vegetables and organic and less processed foods, because, sugar addiction is just as real and works on the same brain receptors as the other addictions, okay? Go get acupuncture treatment, maybe, or a chiropractic alignment. Everybody needs those. You could go to a spa. Cook yourself a nice home-cooked meal. Journal. Go get a manicure or a pedicure. Learn to sew or learn a new hobby. Go out and drive in the country with the windows down. Go fishing. Maybe work on some of your negative self-talk. Meditate. Color in an adult coloring book. Or if you have kids, color with them in theirs. Learn a new skill. Take an online course. Declutter a room or even just a drawer, in your house. Read a new book, visit a museum, forgive others, and maybe even write all this stuff down and then burn it to release it, These are some quick things off the top of my head, but self-care is just so important, okay? Remember, breaking the cycle of addiction is not a one-day process.